Hello, everybody. Today we have yet another very interesting interview. Ray has agreed to come on for a second interview. Now, I do want to preface with the fact that the topics that are going to be covered in today's interview are on the darker side of our reality. But the intention of covering such topics is to be able to shed light and bring awareness to the darkness in order to perhaps being able to change it. Being able to raise awareness of the truth that's happening around the world today. Now, the interview is going to start with the darker side of our reality, and it's going to end with raising certain actions that we can all do, talking about certain things that we can all do to actually make a change. So, if it is difficult for you to listen to what you're about to hear, I understand, but I encourage you to listen to it in its entirety. Take in the truth of what's going on around the world today. And what you do from there is up to you. But remember, going inwards is what each and every one of us needs to do. This is not about finding a savior. This is not about looking for a savior. This is about understanding that each and every one of us have the power to make a change in the world today. And the intention of this interview is to raise awareness, but more so to empower each and every one of you to show you that you can be the person that makes that change. So, Ray, thank you very much for being here and giving us your time once again.
You're welcome. Before we continue, I know you have a lot of questions today. I just want to mention to you and to your viewers certain requests that I have, and to make sure that me and you have an understanding about everything. I like to make sure that you understand, as I told you before, you cannot ask me any personal questions. Please do not try to invade my privacy through your questions, and don't ask me about anything already published by you regarding TLS, myself. If you have any questions regarding that, just refer back to the papers. I'm sure all of your questions will be answered through the papers if you want to put the time into reading them. Let's save time right now. It doesn't make sense. I want to make sure that your viewers understand I am with TLS. However, I am not the spokesperson for TLS. I'm here at my free will and choice. As a matter of fact, the spokesman here is you, and I basically chose you. You agreed. It's important for me that people will understand that I'm not the one who put you up to it. I'm not for it. I'm against it. Not that I'm against TLS. I would prefer if you wouldn't do this to put yourself up front. Become a spokesman. You are dealing with powers you might not understand. And the same reason I'm hiding my identity. Part of the reason is security. My security and my family's security. It's also your security. I care for you. I love you. I don't want to see you getting hurt, and you might get hurt. I don't know where this is going to go, but it's getting crazier by the day. More information is being released. Again, it's against my will, but I cannot control what TLS does. I can only control what's in my possession. Any opinions I give in this interview, it's my opinion only, and it has nothing to do with the policy of TLS, the terms and conditions of anything. Any universal information I will express here today again. Maybe I don't know, depending on the questions you're going to have. It's information acquired through my experience with the information that was given to me. I'm not a type of guru or prophet that makes predictions. This is not me. That's not what I do. I understand that you probably are going to edit this video, and I'm okay with that. I want to make sure you understand I asked to review the final draft before it goes to publication. TLS will do the same, probably after me, and only after you get approval to publish it. You can do it, and this video will become your property, and you could do with it whatever you like. It's your property. I want to make sure that your viewers know and understand that I urge you, and this is important, that I urged you from the very beginning not to take the position of the spokesman and get involved with it. I understand your curiosity took over you. That's what happened to me when I started. It's just, I have the experience, and I think I'm against publicity. I'd like to keep everything quiet and anonymous. It's okay to work behind the scenes, but you chose a different path. But it's your choice. You are not forced into it. And again, I'm against it. Not because I'm against TLS, I'm not. I'm working with them. Great organization. They do many great things. But when it comes specifically to you, I would urge you again not to do this.
Before you continue with what you have to say, all I want to say is, number one, I appreciate the concern. I appreciate the love that you have for me and the fact that you're worried about my own safety. But the way that I personally see it is, if I don't do it and I don't step up to the table, then who else will? And if I want somebody else to, but I'm not going to do it myself, then who am I to speak about somebody else stepping up to the table if I'm not going to take that upon myself to do it? So again, I appreciate the concern. I completely disagree with you. I think now is the time, and now has always been the time. And somebody has to do it. And if nobody else is going to do it, including yourself, then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do it. That's why I agreed to be in this position in the first place. And I do want to say, for the record, that I'd rather not be alive in a world that operates in the way that it operates today. And if I die on the way, so be it. At least I know that I did something that I enjoyed, that I did my absolute best to try and make a change on the way out.
My answer to you is, I'm not going to say not to do anything. I'm saying you could do the same thing and even better, behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be out in the open, but let's agree to disagree on this fact, and it's fine. I just want to express my feelings, and I wanted you and the viewers to understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
It's not from a bad place, it's only from a good place. And the last thing I just want to say before you start with your questions, when I'm going to answer you and talk to you, I prefer not to mention names of individuals or families. I like to refer to the people either as the good guys or the evildoers. And you will understand, and I'm sure your viewers will understand where I'm going with it. I don't think names should be mentioned here. It's not good for me, and not good for you, and definitely not good for your video. Your video might be erased somehow by somebody, and I see it as a problem. So let's stay away from names, although I'm sure you'll understand what I'm talking about, because we all understand where we're coming from. So please continue.
My first question for you is, first of all, why'd you agree to a second interview? It was hard enough to get you for the first one. So what caused you to say okay for the second interview?
Well, the main reason, you're a major pain in the ass. Let's start with that. However, I understand what you're trying to do. I understand what TLS is trying to do. Your passion is awareness, and I'm with you on that. Although I do other things, but I understand where you are coming from. The problem is awareness is not just awareness. You need to get to universal awareness if you want to get where you want to get. In order to get your target and to aim for your target, the target should be universal awareness as opposed to individual awareness or awareness of separation. This world today is in a world of universal separation. This is why you see all the troubles that you see, the wars and the disease, fake disease. People are not united. Your motto is unification. For you to get where you want to get, you have to bring universal awareness. It's something you have to learn about. Universal awareness. To get to it, number one, you have to find a way to destroy or eliminate your ego, my ego, everybody's ego. The world has to lose his ego. Otherwise, we cannot move forward. And that's a very, very difficult task. You can't move forward without that. Ego is a problem. That's the main obstacle in our way moving forward. So again, I'm all for awareness. But I don't think you ever spoke about universal awareness. People don't understand the difference between individual awareness that separates you from the rest, which makes awareness of separation. And today, the world is fed by a universal separation, which is awareness of universal separation. And that's the problem. You gotta make it awareness, a universal awareness that everybody is together, everybody is one. And again, it's a big, I just open maybe a big subject because now you go into religion. It's another form of separation. My God is better than your God. This guy is a Muslim. I'm a Jew. This guy is a Christian. And it's a problem. You not only have to fight people's psyche, now you have to fight the religion in this world. And religion is a major obstacle as much as the ego. But it all stems out of ego. So I just want to put that out there. Why did I agree to it? Again, I want to be part of this fight for awareness. I just want to make sure that you study this more and learn about this more and understand that to bring awareness is not enough. It's got to be a universal awareness. That means me and you are one. Your next door neighbor, somebody in Africa or Europe, we are all one. This is the oneness we always speak about. And again, from there, you gotta talk about religion. You bring God into the picture. It's a very, very big and important subject. So to attack it from your point of view is not going to be easy. So you have a big job in front of you. It's a big mission. So take it from there.
Okay. Before we get to the God topic, because that was a big question that was brought in as well. In our first interview together, people didn't understand where God fit into the picture of everything you were speaking about. So we'll get there. But before we even get there, I want to ask you, number one, have you ever spoken about these topics on camera before, other than our last interview together?
No.
How long have you been working with TLS for?
12 years.
12 years. When was it? January of what year?
2010. My first experience was January 2010.
Do you know why you were approached and chosen by TLS in the way that you were?
Today I have a better idea of why. I was asking those questions all the time from the beginning. I don't like to speak about myself personally, but I can tell you, anybody who's going to be chosen is being chosen for his character, his actions in previous reincarnations, and everyone is born with certain traits. I'm talking about a certain energetic field. We all have a specific dimension, frequency, and vibration that we are born with. This is all energy. Again, energy, you can go back to God. God is energy, but we are not going to get into it right now. Everybody has a specific, you can measure it. If you remember when I did some energy work on you in the past, I could give you actual numbers of your dimension, of your vibration, of your frequency. You could actually measure it. As you know, I don't measure it with machines. I do it with my hands. I do it with my body. I do it by connecting into you, and I can come up with certain information about your body, your soul, and you found it very interesting at the time. Again, it's not something I was born with. It was something that I learned how to do. But I'm guessing if I didn't have those qualities in the beginning when I was born with them, I wouldn't be able to do it. Everybody has a specific energy, vibration, and for example, if I go on a job with somebody, usually I'll go with somebody. I choose this someone because it fits my dimension, my vibration, my frequency at that time, and if it fits the conditions of the mission we're about to encounter. So let's assume I have to travel to Europe to do a specific job in a specific country and to do a specific thing, and I want to take you, for example, because I need to use your energy for something else, for something specific. I'm sorry, but if you don't have those traits in you, I'm not going to take you. I'm going to choose somebody else.
Are those traits something that somebody's born with or something they develop throughout this reincarnation?
It's something you're born with. But people like TLS, when they took me in, they taught me how to use it.
So they help develop it further.
Exactly.
Understood. Do you get paid for the work that you do with TLS?
No.
Okay, so how do you support yourself?
Well, travel expenses of, let's say, a flight to London, for example, to do something. Yeah, everything will be paid. All the travel expenses are paid. I'm not getting a salary for my time. How do I support myself? As you know, I'm a businessman. I was a businessman before TLS. I'm well-to-do. I'm fine. I'm comfortable. And I don't need a secondary income to live on.
Got you. How many people in your day-to-day life, personally speaking, actually know who you are and what you really do?
Other than TLS, which is a big group, very few.
And when it comes to operations that you've been on, have you ever risked your life in an operation?
Yes, it happens, yes.
Okay, so you don't get paid for your work. You have to be undercover pretty much most of your life in terms of your day-to-day living. You're risking your life on operations. The next question would be, why are you doing it?
It's a complicated question. Let me try to explain. When I was first approached, I wasn't approached by TLS. Hi, we're from TLS, come join us. That's not the way it goes. Same way you met me, I met somebody else. It's a game of manipulation. Positive manipulation. For a good cause. They got my curiosity going, the same way your curiosity was going. You didn't understand what TLS was in the beginning, right? Same thing here. I never heard about TLS. Once the curiosity kicks in, now you're asking questions, and you are begging for more information, and you want to get more information, and then you start seeing things that are like crazy, and you are obviously starting to ask questions, and you're looking for the magic trick here. Somebody is playing me, but the more you investigate, the more you see. It's real. It's crazy, but it's real. So I forgot your question. Can you repeat your question?
My question was, why do you do it? It's all inconvenient. You don't get paid. You have to be undercover. You have problems with the way that the organization does certain things. Why are you doing it?
So again, once your curiosity kicks in, and you start learning more and more is being revealed to you, you get more curious. And the thirst for knowledge takes over you, and you finally feel powerful, as you never felt powerful before. In a different way, it's not money that makes you powerful, because we live in a world where money makes you powerful. Suddenly it was knowledge that made you powerful. It's like, I learned that I could do things that are much more than just a magic trick, and I liked it. It's a high that you could never understand unless you experience it. And in the beginning, I wanted more and more. Today I'm more relaxed. I think about things differently. I'm the type of a person throughout my life, I was always looking to help somebody. Even when I didn't have the means. Today I have the means. It's much easier to help somebody. But I'm not talking only about financial help. I'm talking about being the right friend for someone, supporting someone in need, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. And it's just in me. It's part of me. Why am I doing it? I don't know. I just like doing it. Even before I was involved for TLS. People asking me why. Why are you doing this? And my answer was because I can. And because I should. And because it's the right thing to do. That's how I felt all my life. It's not something new. When TLS came into my life and I suddenly was empowered, if you want to call it this way, to do those incredible things, I loved it. And I saw for the first time an organization that does undercover work, not for their own needs, but for the greater good. And they're helping a lot of people. They're involved in everything. Any subject you can think of in this universe, they're involved in. And although not always I understand what's going on, not always being told what's going on, but you could see the results. I could go on a job, do something. I don't even understand what I'm doing, okay? And I come home, I open the TV, I know what to look for, and I see my mission on the TV. And my wife doesn't understand why I'm screaming, shut up, I need to hear this, you understand? And I'm into the TV, and it happens a lot when I get my information through the TV because they're controlling things on the TV sometimes. You get your messages, you get your mission through the TV. You need to go where to tune into, and you get it. I don't get a phone call. You need to be in London tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It could be something on the screen that you're going to see. You think you're seeing CNN, but it's not. It's something that's fed into it. It's a very, very manipulative game, but again, for the greater good. Yes. Was I lied to in the beginning? Yes. Were you lied to in the beginning? Yes.
Absolutely.
Are you going to call me a liar because I lied to you? No, because I couldn't say certain things. Same thing happened to me.
No, also, if you said certain things in the beginning, I would probably think you're crazy. If there was a way to disclose information.
Right. So slowly, information was coming in. I'm a person who checks the information because it seems to me like somebody was screwing with me. This thing didn't make sense to me, but the more I checked, the more I found out it's true. And today, it's my second family. Although I'm not initiated, it is my family.
Are there any other organizations like TLS out there, and do they ever combine forces if there are?
Yes and yes.
Can we get names of anything?
No way.
You mentioned that one of the leaders of TLS is a rabbi. Now, at the same time, we also speak about a world where we're going to be one. But when you talk about a rabbi, it then sounds religious. At the same time, TLS has nothing to do with religion. Can you clear that up for anybody who doesn't understand what's going on here?
Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Alfrandi, that's his full name. Try to understand, in the beginning, I was not even allowed to write his name down. Even if I tried, and believe me, I tried, I couldn't write his name down physically.
Meaning you couldn't move the pen.
Physically, I couldn't. I write, nothing will come up. And I was like challenging the system. What do you mean I can't write it down? I was in my room, by myself, nobody sees. Let me write it down. I couldn't write it down. Today I have the permission to say his name in public, on video. That's incredible to me. He's a leader in the group, and he happens to be a Jewish rabbi. There are others. There are Muslims, there are Hindus, there are everything you want, you have in there. Males, females, everybody is there. He just happens to be from the Jewish faith. He's a very old man today. He was approached when he was 50 years old. That's many years ago.
1640 is the date.
Okay. You said it, not me, but yes.
Born in 1590.
Right. Okay.
1640 makes him 50 years old.
And he went through the same process. Like me. Like you in a way. So I asked him about his experience because you're talking 300, 400 years ago. Things worked differently. He told me where he came from, where he was born. He told me about his life, his family a little bit, which he didn't like to talk too much about. And we became very good friends. He was my mentor. But there are other leaders who do the same thing that he does, but in a different capacity. His destiny, I guess, in this reincarnation is to be a Jewish rabbi. Next reincarnation, he could be, I don't know, something else. He could be a general in the U.S. Army. Religion has nothing to do with the group. You don't have to be affiliated with any religion. You don't have to practice religion. As a matter of fact, if you ask me personally, I'm anti-religion. Every religion. I think religion is one of the worst disasters that happened to humankind. But we're not going to talk about that now. Most of the people in TLS, I can tell you, think like me when it comes to religion. He happens to practice the Jewish religion, and there's a lot of information from the Jewish faith, which is the Bible and other books like the Zohar and the Talmud and the Gemara, that he has major knowledge. He uses it for his own benefit. There's a lot of good information in every religion. I'm sure if you read the Quran or you read the New Testament, basically I'm sure it's all written by codes, and people like him can read the codes. He is very versed in the Quran. He is very versed with the New Testament. He knows everything about every religion. He speaks 8 languages. Yeah, but when you look at him, you're going to see an old man in a good shape. But an old man, extremely intelligent, extremely smart, and bright, full of knowledge. You could sit with him for a year and talk to him, and it's never ending.
I think right now is the right time to ask how God fits into this equation. A lot of people didn't understand, how does TLS view God? How do you view God? And so on.
God. want to talk about God?
Everybody really wants to talk about God.
Okay, I'm going to give you my view on things, and you translate it to anything you want. The way I view God is, let's start with energy. Everything is energy. God to me represents oneness. We're supposed to be one. We are one, but we don't act like it. God is basically in me, in you, and everything in this world. I don't view God as an entity or somebody who sits up there judging us the way all religions are trying to portray. No. God is part of us. We are part of God. I'm sure you heard the word love before connected to God, but it's unselfish love. Unconditional love. The right word will be unselfish more than anything else. If you're going to go into places, monasteries like you have in Tibet, which they practice till today, there are certain monasteries. Some of them, or at least two of them, are TLS affiliated. Let's call it this way. You have monks who are there, who are living there. Those monasteries are hidden in the mountains. They are carved into the mountain. A lot of them were destroyed by the Chinese army because they're trying to destroy anything to do with religion.
Mm-hmm.
But those monasteries are not religion. They don't view, for them, religion is love. Unconditional love. Unselfish love. And if you're going to go there, by the way, it would be great for you to visit if you can make it one day.
Maybe you can take me.
I think for a guy like you're going to love it there. You spend some time because I know you're always looking for teachers. I told you I'm not a teacher, but if you want a real teacher, this is the place where you have real spiritual teachers. That's a place you can learn to do out-of-body experiences for the right reasons. This is where you know how to connect yourself with your teacher. Let's call him the master. Usually it's a master teacher. You learn how to connect to your loved ones. You can connect to your life partner, whoever it is. Okay? They are not celibate there. There are men and women there. And most of all, you learn how to connect to God, which is connecting within you, through you, to God, to the divine power. Now I can sit here for hours and tell you about love and unselfish love and unconditional love. You're never going to get it unless you are going to experience it. I happen to be one of the lucky ones to see it and experience it firsthand. But since you asked me before, where do I go if you don't want to teach me? Since you're bringing the subject up, Tibet. I know it's a hard place to get to. Very hard to find. You can't find it on Google, definitely not on Waze. But there are monasteries. Some are left. Most of them are destroyed. But they're still operating under the radar. But they're operating, and a lot of young men and women go there, and it's a life-changing experience. Definitely.
Is this a location that you can disclose to me at some point?
No, not right now. I can tell you it exists. And it's not a secret that it exists. I'm sure that there's many books, people wrote about them, but the Chinese army is trying to destroy Tibet, and they're doing a pretty good job of it for now. It's another sad thing. The world is standing by doing nothing. It could be stopped. It will take a big mission to accomplish something like this, but it should be done. People are being butchered, murdered. And it's all in the name of killing a religion that really doesn't exist. The Tibetan people are not like the rest of the world, where they practice religion as we are, the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims. Their religion is love. This is what I talk to you about in the future. The time will come. Religions will be abolished, and there will be one religion. You can call it love. Unselfish love. Unconditional love. And it's going to be at that time where all the people are going to be connected to each other. And you remember, I spoke to you before about one world government, and you were in shock. And I'm explaining again. I'm not against one world government, but the one world government I'm talking about is a government for the greater good, to get the people in together, not to enslave them. Today, you're being a slave, but it's more than one entity who does it to you. They're trying to get to one entity. Let me finish. 1 second. What's going to happen? And this again, it's my opinion from the things I've seen around me. One world government will appear for the greater good. But once you're going to reach the level of universal awareness, you're not going to need a government. You're not going to need the police. You're not going to need an army, because the people are going to govern themselves. Because once you know that you are one with your next door neighbor, or you are one with your competitor that you're doing business with, this competition is going to go away, because you're not going to compete against yourself. You're not going to be trying to use greed to win, because you understand by doing something negative, you're really hurting yourself. So all of those things are going to disappear. I keep mentioning Tibet because Tibet is the closest thing I can think of on this planet for you to see how people live and the way they treat each other. And I'm not going to tell you that Nirvana is there yet, but it's coming there. And it's going to start from places like that. The only other place where you could see this kind of operation is outside of this globe. And they live the life that I'm talking about now.
I understand.
Okay? So I was trying to explain to you, because I know this one world government freaks out a lot of people. But it's a good thing. It's a tool to reach the universal awareness. What you're trying to get is the universal awareness. I don't think you're going to get it without one world government. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another way. But something tragic and revolutionary has to happen in this world for you to reach the point you want to reach. It's not going to happen by you talking to people. It's going to help. I'm not saying don't do it. But people need to wake up. This is part of your job, but it's not enough. You need to wake up 8 billion people. Some of them are not going to make it, so they're going to perish. Fine. But to get where I'm telling you, this nirvana, it is going to happen. Like I told you before, I think we have 170 years to go. I'm just hoping it's going to happen before. I think it will happen before. Maybe not in my lifetime, but in your lifetime. It's going to happen. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. One world government for the right reasons is a good thing, because people need to be awakened. You are only a small part of the formula. Maybe one day you will go to a different level and do it in a different way. But remember, something tragic or revolutionary has to happen in order for people to wake up and to accept a one world government, which this government will bring it to a level of universal awareness, and then you won't need a government. Period. You don't need borders. You don't need an army. That's, for me, the nirvana we are talking about.
I think the word government is what throws people off, and where you brought it to of people self-governing once we get to that universal awareness, higher level of collective awareness is what people are more aiming towards. So I think it's also a terminology thing, partly because you also have a language barrier of where you come from and a difference in culture. So I'm bringing that up for anybody that doesn't understand you with the words that you use to clarify where you're coming from. So thank you for sharing that. I want to bring us back to TLS for a second before we go into the darker topics with underground tunnels and children and whatever you're comfortable with covering on those topics. When it comes to TLS, and I'm going to challenge you on this one, you said many times that you don't always know why you're doing a mission. How are you so sure that you're doing it for the greater good?
Because I see the results after. And by the results, I can judge. Look, you're not doing anything bad to anybody or to anyone. That's not what they're about. It's a very spiritual group. I don't want to say naive, but some of them are even naive to a point that I was laughing about. And I was trying to say to myself, how can somebody so naive be in a group of TLS? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's an organization of spiritual awareness. Their main thing is spiritual awareness. The children out of the tunnels, it's a small part of the job. Missions with ETs to other planets or whatever. Again, it's being a part of NASA or the Pentagon or the US government.
When you say being a part of those organizations, NASA, the Pentagon, and all that, are you talking about being a part of it, or are you talking about being a part of it for infiltration purposes?
Infiltration purposes, of course.
I understand.
Also, just to make sure that you understand, certain people from TLS who work in NASA and for NASA, they're getting paid a salary from NASA. NASA doesn't know what's going on, you understand? They don't know who they are. They don't understand that TLS has people in there. Same thing for the Pentagon. They are all over the place.
So that means that we can say that in the Pentagon, in high-ranking positions in the government and all that, there may be people from TLS and maybe even other good organizations that are working to move certain things.
Correct.
Understood. Throughout our last interview, you expressed yourself in a way, very apparently, that you don't necessarily agree with the fact that TLS doesn't interfere with certain things. You don't agree with, you feel that they should be doing more, according to what you said. So my question for you is, I mean, you've been on a lot of operations of what I would call interference, underground tunnels, taking out those tunnels, freeing certain children, interfering with the dark side as well, while they also do what they're doing with awareness. So how can you say they don't interfere with the fact that you've been on missions that interfere?
I never said the word interfere. I said words like getting involved or do enough. I wouldn't use the terminology interfere. They do the work for certain purposes. All good. I'm not saying they're doing any bad things, but my personal feeling, my personal opinion, they're not doing enough. They could do more. They should do more, especially today.
And you don't think that doing more to an extent, meaning they've done and released and freed hundreds of thousands of children. They've taken out certain tunnels, if you want to speak about that. They do, at the same time, military action and work with the military, from my understanding, while simultaneously doing the spiritual work and awareness. Where is the line of interference that is doing it for humanity instead of assisting humanity? Because there's a fine line between the two.
Again, they are helping and assisting humanity. That's the purpose, in order to bring people to a universal awareness, which we spoke about before. All I said is they're doing great work. I'm very proud to be part of it, but they're not doing enough. I came with the plan, many plans, not one, of doing more for the greater good, especially what's going on in the last 2 years in this world. Nobody wants to do anything. They're not telling me we don't do anything. They're saying we are rejecting the plan for now. They might be doing other things I'm not aware of. I don't know everything in there. Don't forget, I'm not initiated. I'm not a member. I'm affiliated with them. So it's possible. It's not possible. I'm sure they're doing things, but I just like to see things done more aggressive and faster.
You've said specifically over this past year, I would say 2021, as in this past year, there have been a lot of operations or missions that they asked you to be a part of that you rejected due to the level of danger.
Yes.
I don't know what they're doing, but how do you know what they're doing and that they're not being aggressive enough if you're not agreeing to be there for your own safety concerns?
Let me explain to you how it works, so you'll understand about the level of danger. From day one, not only now, from day one, anyone from TLS, not only me, that goes on a mission, they have to tell him the level of danger. That's rule number 1. It's from 1 to 10. 10 meaning you're probably not coming back. The only difference between me and initiated members is that they don't have much of a choice of not volunteering. I have a choice of saying no, not for me, choose somebody else.
Meaning when you're initiated, you're committing to saying okay.
Right. Now, it's like they're being forced to say, okay, those people, they don't care. For them, it's like, I mean, you don't have to convince them. With me, I want to think about it. That's the difference between me and them. So, anytime I took a dangerous job, high-level job closer to 10, is only when I did it by myself. I didn't take any of my friends to do the job because I didn't want to be responsible if something goes wrong, so I did things on my own. When I go with someone, especially when I choose them for the job, because when it's my mission, I choose who I want to take according to energies, and so I like to keep it on a low level. Low level means 3, 4, 5, 6. Once I even use the 7 with another person, I don't want to take my chances. Those people have families. They have children usually. Not always, but they do. I don't want it on my conscience because there's a chance that you're not coming back or you're coming back in a wheelchair. Things happened before. I was on jobs that I had to go to in the last minute. They told me to abort. We abort the mission. I left with my people. I got out. The next day, I hear 5 people died. They took my place. Somebody took my place and 5 people died the next day in the same place, and I knew and I understood what's happening. Look, TLS is not an organization of fighters, although they fight when they have no choice. In the last 2 years, with everything that's happening with the tunnels and the earthquakes, there were actually firefights. And TLS lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of people. I'm talking close to 2,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah. Throughout the world. Australia alone was over 700 people. There was actually a firefight. And when they had to fight, they fight. But yeah, maybe the other side had more losses, but still, 700 souls perished. This organization, like I told you before, 7,000 people. Now they are, as of December 23rd of 2021, they reached already 8,300 to 8,400 members.
Can you elaborate on the date, December 23rd?
It's the date of initiation for TLS throughout the world. So on December 23rd, many people were initiated, got into the group, and today their numbers are about 8,300 to 8,400 people.
Before we speak about the tunnels, are there any other operations that you can sort of elaborate on to give a better understanding to the people watching on the types of real physical operations that TLS is doing in this world? Has done or is doing today?
Well, first of all, most operations are spiritual. They're not physical, okay? I don't know how to answer you unless you're going to be more specific. I don't know what to tell you.
There are operations having to do with earthquakes that were stopped. There are operations having to do, yes, with underground tunnels and literally bringing, if you want to talk about it, explosions to take tunnels out to stop certain people from doing things. There are operations having, and I'm just talking about what I know. There's an operation that I don't know about, that I know the name of, that I'm going to ask you, and I don't know if you could talk about it. I think it's called Project 852. I don't know what you can say, but if my intuition serves me correctly, it has something to do with solar storms. I don't know if I'm right, but elaborate, talk to us, show us what these people are doing. I want to understand how they're doing what they're doing so that people can understand that, yes, there are good forces doing certain things, and this is how they're doing it, but we also have to take responsibility and do things ourselves as human beings.
Well, since you mentioned Project 852, I can't tell you about it, but these are spiritual projects. This is not a physical project. Every spiritual project has 5% or 10% physical work into it, but the spiritual is mainly spiritual.
Are you able to share the purpose or the goal of what that mission was?
No, I can't talk about it. It was a few years ago, but I can't give you information about that. I can talk to you about general things. You mentioned earthquakes. The earthquakes were connected through the tunnels.
We'll get there. Before we go there,
Yeah.
talk to me about other operations that you've been on, that you've done, to give a wide understanding of the work, physically and spiritually, and then we'll go deeper into the tunnels.
Let's say there's a solar storm coming in. TLS has the ability to shift it or stop it. So this is one thing that we've done in the past. I was involved with one. Let's assume there's a major hurricane that comes in to an island. Let's say Puerto Rico, Bora Bora, that could be destroyed. TLS has the ability to stop it. Again, it's not being done by a machine. It's being done with people. Spiritual people who could shift things, and not always is TLS allowed to get involved or interfere, as you say, with the process. Otherwise, they will stop everything. However, most of the earthquakes, tsunamis, storms that you see, unfortunately, most of them are not made by nature. This is man-made by the evildoers or psychopaths we spoke about before. We're not mentioning any names. They have the power to do the damage. TLS is trying to stop the damage. And as you know, and you published in your papers, there are certain technologies from way that those evildoers have in their possession. We're not going to get into it, how and whatever. Everything was written about and spoken about before, but it's a very exciting technology. Strong, a lot of abilities. However, it could be used for the greater good, or it could be used by psychopaths in order to enslave humanity, in order to create chaos, in order to take over geographical places in the world, and so on.
Understood. Can you talk to us about the tunnels? I know throughout the year of 2020 specifically, you've been a part of a lot of operations. I don't know how many. I know certain operations you risked your life. You almost died. There was an ambush in September of 2020. What can you share, number one, on a big picture understanding for those who don't understand what these tunnels are? Can you explain from your understanding what these tunnels are, why they exist, and what's being done down there?
Tunnels, first of all, were not built recently. They've been there for many, many years. All of the tunnels were built by the energy I spoke to you about.
Meaning the technology, electromagnetic laser pulsation.
Yes. And it was built by humans, not by ETs. Again, you always bring this up. ETs have nothing to do with it. It was built by humans. Psychopaths, as I call them. It's still being done today. The difference is that today, and years back also, TLS and people like TLS do their best to destroy it. Those tunnels are very extensive. They can go from New York to Portugal to Australia. They're all over. There are tunnels throughout, but there are also hubs. Hubs mean it's like a big city. By the way, they're all connected with trains that work on a magnetic field.
How fast do these trains go?
Fast. Real fast. You could do New York to Europe in 20 minutes.
Have you been on these trains?
Yes.
Is there just out of curiosity, is there any form of like a G-force? Do you have to drink anything to get on the train like you do on a spaceship?
No, you don't have to drink anything, but we were wearing a special outfit, suit.
Okay.
And yeah, it's going pretty fast. There are like hubs, centers like South Africa has one, Australia has one. Certain places in Europe, which I don't want to mention where, but in Europe you have one. One of the biggest ones, believe it or not, is in Antarctica. You could travel by train. If you have the ability, you could travel by levitation. They guard it with technology. It's not like people are sitting there with guns and watching you.
Are there any guards on any entrances?
Very few.
Where are these entrances?
Can't tell you.
Around cities, area?
All over. They never end. You go in and...
How many times have you been in these tunnels? And why?
Not too many. About 10 times.
For what purpose?
It's not my thing. The 2020 operations got me involved in the New York area, and many kids were taken out. Many, many kids. Not only in New York, all over. But again, It's another example. Why did they stop? There's more kids out there. It's one of the more difficult missions I had to take because the things you see there, it stays in your memory forever and you feel disgusted. You see things one should not see. A lot of the kids were taken out. I don't know if you can call them kids anymore. They're more like subhumans. It's like you see, I don't want to say monsters, but they look deformed. Some looked okay, but all of them, you could see they're not well. You see sick children.
Were the majority brought there? Were they born there? Is there cloning down there?
Well, in the old days, they used to kidnap kids and just take them. Today, they still use kidnapping, but not as much as they used to. Today, it's more of cloning. You can take a child and clone them over and over again, and you dispose of the body whenever you're done with it. Most of the kids who were taken out, they're not making it. They cannot. They don't know how to live outside of the tunnels. Most of them, they're in such a bad shape, they perish anyway.
What kind of things, and I know this is a difficult topic, what kind of things have you seen done by these evildoers to these children, if you want to call them that?
I personally did not see anything. What I saw is when we went to take them out, and it's like, it's all booby-trapped. You gotta go with special shoes, special equipment. My job was more to find, I have the ability to find booby traps, let's call them. But still, people still made a mistake and people died.
Are those traps through a certain form of technology?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what that means exactly?
Again, they use very specific technologies. For example, if you go in the tunnels are usually very wide.
How wide is very wide?
It all depends. If it's a hub, it's like a whole city. Otherwise, it could be 50 to 100 meters wide. It's wide. Enough for a train to go by, for you to walk around it. And let's say one of our people did not listen to the orders and he was touching the wall before this wall was checked, and you could perish. But it's not like an explosion. You just disintegrate to nothing. There's no body left by the time we're done with you.
Is it some form of like laser technology?
Yeah, it's some form of laser combination with magnetic field, and by the time they're done with you, there's no body.
How are you able to detect what's where in terms of the traps?
I can't reveal that, but I have the ability to know where is the danger zone.
Do you have specific tools that you use? Is it a spiritual thing? Is it connected to physical and spiritual?
It's a spiritual tool that I don't want to talk about now.
I understand.
Again, you could find booby traps, you could find lasers, laser guns, you could find nukes. It's a spiritual thing that I can't talk about.
I know we've already touched up on this topic a little bit in the first interview you and I have done together, but I want to ask it again in regards to the tunnels. A lot of people believe that these tunnels are operated by evil extraterrestrial beings, or that there are extraterrestrials down there doing dark and evil things. From your experience, what have you seen? Can you validate that that's true, that that's not true?
Okay, all the tunnels are being, unfortunately, controlled and operated by those evildoer psychopaths. However, in some places you're going to go in and you're going to see government agencies in this place. They are part of them. So I was trying to tell you, when you have a government, and again, I'm not going to mention names, but you understand it's not your government. Your president is not your president. Somebody's running the show here. And yeah, they can use a certain army from a certain country to control the place. Those soldiers who are there, they don't know what's going on. And they might protect a tunnel under the name of this so-called army. But it's not an army. It's the same people running the show. Now, throughout the world, it's the same people, same army. They're just giving different names to governments.
So over here, by the way, I believe they call them deep underground military bases. They call them DUMBs for short.
Yes, but they're not. For example, in the U.S., are there U.S. soldiers in those tunnels? Yes. Do they know what's going on? No.
So again, back to the whole extraterrestrial thing that's going down there. What can you touch up on that? People are under the impression from very, I would say, like significant sources of truth telling that there are evil extraterrestrial beings that are down there doing dark things.
First of all, there's no such thing as evil ETs. Get it out of your head. I know there's a lot of things, and the internet and TV and shows doesn't exist. They're affiliated with people like TLS, and they're doing some work. Yes. For example, one of the missions I was in, you remember I told you about Kevin. Kevin is an ET.
Well, last interview, you never said his name. So.
No, okay. Now I can say his name. Today, his name is Kevin.
Explain who Kevin is for anybody who doesn't understand.
Kevin is a former ET. He's still an ET, but today his name is Kevin. His name was changed, obviously. He goes by the name Kevin. He lives here in New York. He's part of TLS, and he was part of the missions last year. Not last year, in 2020, when missions were done.
Understood. So there could be extraterrestrial activity down there, but from your experience, it's been done for positive purposes on the side of TLS.
Yeah. Only the side of TLS or other organizations. I'm not saying TLS is the only one, but there are other organizations doing similar things. But again, you always get stuck on the children. The children is not the main purpose of those tunnels. It's a small part of it. Always follow the money. There's a lot of the money involved in there. Gold, silver, and I'm going to tell you something that was never said before.